If you just stumbled across this video and you haven't already seen parts 1, 2, and 3 of the How to Buy a Home in Silicon Valley series, you can go ahead and watch those videos right here. Don't watch this video first. This is the conclusion. It's the ending. Don't spoil the ending. Go watch parts 1, 2, and 3 and then come back to this video. It's going to take you a while to get through those first 3 videos, but I promise after that you'll be so informed. My job here is to make your entire home buying experience easy. I want to simplify it for you. I've been selling homes here in the Bay Area for almost 8 years now. And in those 8 years, I've sold hundreds and hundreds of homes. So I want to make your job easy, your home buying experience easy. So watch those videos first, come back, finish with this one. All right, so now you've removed all your contingencies. Either you did that before you made the offer or after you made the offer during the escrow process. And so now you've removed all of your contingencies. So typically in Silicon Valley and in the Bay Area, we are seeing escrows between 21 and 30 days for financed offers and typically anywhere from 7 to 14 days for homes that are all cash. That is how long the entire contract period of the home buying experience is. And so usually what happens between 3 to 5 days before you close on the home, you'll do what we call the final walkthrough, final verification. And so at this point, you're walking through the home to make sure that everything is in the same condition that you found it in, that there's no holes in the wall, that, suddenly the sink hasn't disappeared, those kinds of things. And so more often than not, you're going to walk through the property and find that everything is in the exact same condition that you left it in or that you originally experienced it in. And so you'll just sign off on that final verification, say everything's good to go. If for some weird reason something's missing or something's wrong, then at that point you would have the ability actually to negotiate with the seller and say, hey, this thing is not there, or it's missing. Sometimes negotiated items like drapes or like an appliance or something is missing, and in which case we want to make sure that those things are there because you paid for it. So at that point, we would go back and get those items either credited to us or returned back to the property or whatever. But once the final walkthrough is done, then you're basically at the closing table. The lender's going to send out what is known as a closing disclosure package. Once you've signed off on those, then the title company will reach out to you to arrange a time for you to come sign off on all of the documents. Now, it's very common in this market here in the Bay Area for the title company to actually arrange for a notary to come to your house. So you don't even have to drive into the title company. You can simply sit there at 7 p.m. in the comfort of your own home, drinking a glass of wine with your significant other, just happy that you've got there. You've arrived. You've made it to the finish line. You sign off on all the documents. Usually takes about an hour or so. And then we get to closing day. So once you've signed off on all your documents, the seller signed off on all your documents, at this point, the lender is going to wire in the remaining amount. You, the buyer, have already presumably wired in the remaining amount as well. And so at that point, escrow says, my gosh, we have all the money. Let's go record. So they go to the county recorder's office and they say, now you are the owner of this property. And so they submit that paperwork to the county, and typically it records the following day. And so typically what you'll see is just a timeline. On a Monday, you'll sign off. On a Tuesday, it will fund. And then on Wednesday, it will record and close. And that is generally the sequence of events. Now, there are times where you can fund and record same day. It's called recording special. And typically it funds in the morning and records in the evening. But in these COVID times, everything's a lot slower. And so typically we are seeing things turn around just a little bit slower than they used to. So you can expect usually a 24-hour turnaround after the lender is funded, which is typically 24 hours after you've signed off on all of the final documents. And that's it. You're at the house with the agent. Hopefully it's a Selling Silicon Valley Group agent. And if it is, they're coming with champagne. They're coming with our Selling Silicon Valley gift baskets. And they're sometimes coming with our team videographers. We want to make a little documentary for you, a little memento for you to remember that entire day, that entire experience. Because you know what? This is a big deal. It's for a lot of people, the largest transaction of their entire lives, or if it's your starter home, you're going to be buying the next home, but it's the largest financial transaction that you've probably done up until this point. And so for us, we take a lot of pride in making sure that all of our clients really have the best consumer experience possible, and we want to make it special for you. Now, I saved a little bit of juice for the end because there's actually another possibility here. The other possibility is that we don't do the key exchange at that point because you're still not living in the property. Why? Well, let's rewind all the way back to when we're negotiating. There are certain cases in which the seller, they haven't either identified a home that they want to move into, they are in a situation where there's a lot of junk in their house, and so they're going to need more time to get out. For whatever reason, the seller has decided that they want to remain in possession after the home closes. And this is very common in the Bay Area. We're used to seeing seller in possessions, or rent backs as they're colloquially, I'll say that 5 times fast, colloquially called. Rent backs are usually anywhere from 7 to 14, and on the longer side of things, 30 to 60 days. Now, most lenders will not allow you, the buyer, to offer longer than a 60-day rent back to the seller, even if they wanted it, because at that point it would be considered an investment property because you've been renting it out for too long. So in most cases, sellers will ask for 1 to 2 weeks, all the way from 30 to 60 days. Now, in this market, it is somewhat common to see buyers offer that duration of time to the seller for free. There are so many ways to structure a seller in possession agreement, a rent back agreement, and the permutations are really endless. And so it would not be wise for me to spend the next 30, 40, 50 minutes explaining to you all the different possibilities. But just know that the possibility exists that the seller may ask you, hey, buyer, can I rent back the property from you for 30 days or so after we close escrow? Now, ultimately, it's up to you whether or not you want to offer that in your offer, because all of that gets negotiated up front. But just remember, in this market, if the seller needs 30 days, chances are there's a buyer out there who's willing to give them 30 days. So if it's not you, it's going to be somebody else. So just something to keep in mind. Again, all of those terms, everything gets negotiated up front, whether it's a free rent back or they're paying your, what we call PITI, which is principal, interest, taxes, insurance, basically offsetting your mortgage. However you decide to structure it, there are, like I said, a million ways to do it. But once that time is done, once the rent back period is done, then you would finally take possession of the home. So you either take possession of it on the day that you close escrow, or you take possession of it after the seller has moved out. You do, however, get keys the second that we close escrow, because you are now the owner of the property. And so you would get keys, but the seller would remain in possession of keys. So now, regardless of whether you have the rent back or you have no rent back, you are closed. Now, just a couple other tiny tidbits here to keep in mind. When you are negotiating an offer with the home seller, typically you'll negotiate what's called a home warranty. And that home warranty protects some of the basics, the appliances and the washer dryer. Sometimes it includes the pool, air conditioning. Sometimes it even includes the plumbing. The home warranty is designed to help keep your maintenance costs as low as possible. So a home warranty is generally negotiated up front, but you'll want to contact the home warranty company after you've closed escrow, because a lot of times the home warranty companies, as in addition to all of those services and basically covering you in the event that any of those things need replacing or need repairing, they also do what's called a rekey. A lot of home warranty companies with a deductible of maybe $75 or $100 will come out to your property for free and rekey your entire home. This is something that I highly recommend that you do the second that you move into the house. Why? Well, the seller, I'm sure that they're good people and they're not going to bother you and whatever. But there is a good possibility that the seller gave their keys to friends and maybe the friend lost it or whatever. But there is a possibility that multiple copies of those keys exist out there, and you really don't want that to be the case with your brand new house. So I would recommend that you get the home rekeyed immediately. And in a lot of cases, the home warranty companies will cover that for you at a fraction of what it would cost, say, like a locksmith to come out and do the same job. You can never be too safe. Typically, when you move into a house, the seller will leave you with like all the brochures and all the pamphlets and everything. I recommend that during the final walkthrough of the home, you ask that the seller be there, especially, if it's a standard home, great. But, some homes have pools, they have all of these fancy gadgets, security systems, all of these different things. And you don't want just a pamphlet. You want them to walk you through, like, and show you how to do stuff. Cause, everything is different. And it's explaining in a pamphlet is one thing, but getting the hands-on kind of tutorial is another thing. I would recommend coming out with your iPhone and saying, hey, would you mind like just showing me how to work the entertainment system, or like, the speakers, if you got like surround sound speakers in the home, and the pool, or you show me how to work the heater or whatever. And you just film them when they're doing it. So then that way you just, you can always come back to it. That's what I did for my house, and it really, it saved me a lot of times, because it's like, how do I turn the pool on again? And it's like, okay, yeah, all right, that's how I do it. And now that you've closed, it's time to just sit back and relax and be grateful for the blessings that you've been giving. I mean, come on. We're in literally the epicenter and the heartbeat of the world. We live in Silicon Valley, the tech capital of the world. There's so much to be thankful for. You got to buy a house in one of the most competitive markets, and you should be very, very proud of yourself. It's a huge accomplishment. It's definitely something to be grateful for. Well, that's it. Now, if you have any further questions, or maybe you have a unique scenario that you just want to talk through, you're not really sure where to begin. Maybe you're at a startup and some of your stocks have invested, so you don't even know if you can qualify for a loan, or maybe your VA, your FHA, maybe you've been fun employed for the last 5 years, but then, you made like $10 million the year before that. And so you're trying to work things out. All of those scenarios are scenarios that I've encountered before. And so we can help you walk through any and all specific scenarios. So just text me at the number down below. Let me know what your situation is, and I'd be more than happy to help. I hope you enjoyed the series. If you enjoyed this series and you think one of your friends or your family members or your coworkers could benefit from this, go ahead and share this video with them. I would really appreciate it. It would really help me out. And you know what else would help me out? Is if you click that subscribe button, the notification bell, and gave us a thumbs up. It costs you nothing, and it does a whole lot for me and for this channel. It helps me get in front of more people just like you. This is Danny Gould, everyone, with the Selling Silicon Valley Group, and I will catch all of you in the next video.